This video is going to be a rebuild of a Carter WE carburetor off of a 1951 Studebaker Champion with the 170 cubic inch inline six. This carburetor has already been off and apart to give it a quick clean, but I just reassembled it using everything that it already had. This is going to be actually disassembly and doing a rebuild using this kit, which I will put up a picture of the actual part number and where I bought it from and everything like that. I am a relative novice to doing carburetor work. I normally am working on fuel injected vehicles. This is a learning experience for me. I have rebuilt small engine carburetors before, and I've had a little bit of experience with the carburetor from my Mazda B2200. But as far as something this old and, you know, a single one barrel carburetor, I'm kind of learning as I go. But I have had this apart, so I have gotten a little bit of experience with it. So there didn't seem to be a lot of information on this carburetor on YouTube, so I thought I would just do something to kind of maybe help someone out. So I'm just going to go ahead and start disassembling it. I just laid out everything from the kit over here, and I'm just gonna kind of do the same with laying the stuff out. This probably still has a little bit of gas in the bowl, so I want to try to be careful not to just spill everything. And I may not know all the correct terms for everything, but this is just seems to be a cover that kind of covers up like the accelerator pump and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna set these out with the hardware next to it for now. And then you have, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right in the center right there for removing the float bowl. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to dump this out. Okay, there wasn't much in there. There is some linkage right here that we need to disconnect. And I think there is a new clip. Yeah, there's a new clip like this in the kit. So I'm going to swing it back and you can pull it out. And that just lifts out of there. You got your float with the needle and seat above that. I forget I think this is called the power valve. And then this would be the accelerator pump here. The one screw in the center is a different screw from the other 4 on the outside. For now, I'm just gonna break them down into big chunks, and then we'll kind of, I guess, attack each piece individually. So this still has the tag on it that's supposed to tell you like what it is, 715S. I just know it as the Carter WE. And I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this also. We have one of these clips, but there's more than one on here, so we got to make sure we keep them. This is, I guess, just like the choke housing, and there's the 2 screws right here, but there's also one right there. It's been apart recently, so everything's coming apart relatively easily. So then the choke should just come apart, and then we can take off the climatic control. This is the automatic choke. It looks very similar to the choke on the 87 Mazda, at least the Weber carburetor. And this does have these little tab washer things that hold this on, so make sure you don't lose those. So on a more modern vehicle with a carburetor like this would be electric, and there's just a bimetallic coil that you apply voltage to, and it warms up, and then it will basically turn around the inside of here, and it will move the choke like that. On this one, it actually is getting heat from the exhaust, and the heat will heat up this coil and do the exact same thing. We do have this gasket right there. You see that's pretty petrified, but I'll just leave it with it for right now. And then we have, I guess, the main guts of the carburetor. There's that gasket. We have that, yeah, we have that one. We have these two giant screws. So that would be the throttle body. Cars still have this. This is the only part I would say that we still have on a modern vehicle, just the part that opens and closes the butterfly valve. This is what allows the air into the engine. And on this, it's allowing the air with the fuel mixture, because right above it, you have the actual venturi part, which, you know, the air flows through and it draws the fuel into the air. And there is a spring right in here. I will pull that out. I do not see any kind of check ball in there. We have two check balls with this kit. I'll have to look at the diagram and see where it goes. But we have a couple jets down in there. So I may need to get different tools to take some of this stuff apart. I'm not sure. Okay, so basically we've got it tore down to the major, you know, there's like 4 major components. The throttle body, the actual like venturi, like this is the float bowl with the venturi part of the carburetor. We have the choke, and then we have the actual float slash fuel inlet and accelerator pump, and what I'm pretty sure they would call it the power valve. There would be a gasket for that, which is going to be this right here. This is when you actually put it back on the car. We will be using that. I don't think there's a gasket there. I'm not sure if there's one on the car or not. Yeah, there's a gasket right here. Which is that one. Try to clean up these mating surfaces a little bit better. Another clip. We have one new one. Whenever you have an adjustment screw like this, you probably want to actually turn it all the way in and count how many turns you go in. You may want to mark one side of it so you know which way it is. I'm gonna not do that. I'll just do it in half turn increments. So that's half. Okay, it stopped. So it's about 1 1/4 turns out. And then you just go ahead and take it all the way out. And that would be that right there. And we do have a spring also for that. And it's probably a good idea to blow compressed air through any passage that you can see to make sure that everything is as clear as you can get it. For these surfaces right here, if you do have a die grinder like this with like a 3M abrasive disc on it, that would be really easy to clean these things up. If you don't, you can just use like a piece of sandpaper with like a sanding block or something. But these are actually really cheap at Harbor Freight if you already have an air compressor. But if you don't, sandpaper should work pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up these surfaces here, and I want to see if I can see what this is. This could be lubricated a little bit too. There isn't any play. If you had a lot of play in this, then your carburetor is just worn out and you probably wouldn't really have much luck rebuilding it, because you're going to have vacuum leaks through this. But this is actually pretty good. It just needs a little bit of lubrication. So I'm going to take care of that and we'll come back. All right, so I hit it with the die grinder. It really didn't seem to want to get all this off, and I know the gasket is going to have some degree of squish to it, which should take up some of the imperfections. But I figure a lot of you guys probably don't have that anyway. So I'm gonna just see if I can just take a piece of, this is like 108 or 80 grit. I'm just gonna see if I can just try to, there's no real obstructions. Oh, actually there is. I thought that didn't stick down all the way. Guess I'm gonna do it at the edge of the table. Ideally, I would like to kind of move it like a crisscross pattern, but this is kind of all we got. So. Yeah, I like that better. It's at least going to keep it flat. Oh yeah, see, that's much better. I obviously don't want to take off too much, but I can still see like a stamp number right there, so I don't think we're going too far. All right, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to just go ahead and get some finer paper also. So this is 320. And I think you can actually use grease, just like a general purpose, like axle grease, as like a layer. When I was putting together the Weber carburetor on the Mazda, that was actually part of the instructions, was to use a layer of grease. So I may just do that because there is some pitting in there. Probably would be okay to use like an RTV, like a little film of RTV. But I know that RTV, I'm pretty sure it doesn't hold up to gasoline. So I think that's probably why they were using grease. Like, I think this will probably be fine. I could probably keep sanding until I don't see any more of these, but I'm probably splitting hairs here. I mean, you don't want to have any kind of a air leak, because then you get a lean condition. If the car could throw you a check engine light, it would be a P0171. This here isn't too bad. I think it'll be fine. I'll go like that. It goes all the way out to the edge. So I'm going to look into blowing out just any holes. Any holes that you see, just blow them out with compressed air. If you don't have a compressor, you can just get like electronics cleaner and some carb cleaner with a straw. Just try to blow everything out. As I'm looking at this a little closer, I can see there's actually some passages inside of here. I'm not sure how well you can see that. There's one right there. And from what I can tell, it's blocked. There's actually a couple in there. There's right there, there, and I think there's something right there. So there's like 3 on that side. Okay, I can see that one is clear. But I'm gonna see if I can get like I have some carburetor brushes. I think this just came with a kit that I bought for like a lawnmower carburetor at one point. And they're mostly too big for those carburetors, but yeah, see, we can get that right in there. And we can actually go bigger than that. Just try to use one of these that actually has a brush on it. Maybe that one. That fits nice and snug. Just try to make sure it's clear. And we got one down a little further. That might be a little bit too big for that one. Or it's blocked. This one here is just kind of like a rod, so it might be a little stronger. At least poke into it. I'm not actually sure where that one goes. I'm not sure if I want to try to take all this apart or not. I know that these screws are generally like, there's something done with them. I don't know if they're like peened over on this side or you use Loctite or something, because you don't want to have screws just falling out and falling into your engine. That's a real fast way to cause damage. So these I know do need to go back in, but it would be really nice to take this all apart and really clean the rust out of this bore. So I guess I'm going to try to do this. Oh, see, and that's why I don't want to do it. Broke that off. All right, I'm just going to leave it alone. It's still tight in there. The screw is still going through it, so it's not going to allow it to slide through. But yeah, I would not recommend, just leave well enough alone. If it's something that just doesn't look like it's worth taking it apart, just leave it alone. I'm not sure. These are probably for idle. Yeah, because that's going to be face down. I'm sure that's going to be for an idle. Well, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure. I can't see the other end of these unless it's just, you know, some of this stuff up here, which I'm already kind of going through. I don't see on the diagram where this little piece is coming out. It doesn't even list it as a part that I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that this is as far as we can take this one. And this guy, so this one in here, I believe, right? Yeah. Take the new one with the spring. I don't think there was any kind of gasket there, because all the action happens down here. All right, so it's seated half, 1, and 1 1/4. Just to put it back where the other one was. I think they normally would say turn it like 1 1/2 to 2 turns out. So I'm pretty sure this is the idle mixture, which would make sense because that's right where all these little tubes were that I thought were for an idle. I can kind of see where that blade isn't completely covering over that, which, you know, maybe that's supposed to be like that because it's a slit. There's kind of a slit right there in the center. So it might be that that little bit of a passage is always open. That's just my guess. That I think is good, except for the screw that we broke off. That should be the main jet right down there. And I probably should have a bigger screwdriver for this. So I may have to come back to some of this. Okay, that actually did. A little mini pry bar does fit all the way across. But I do think that I have some much bigger flathead screwdrivers at work. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring that home and take those out with that. Okay, so a little jet in there. Seems to be all there was in that hole. Should be a hole that goes all the way through it. And one that goes sideways. And I can see all the way through it, so at least I know it's not plugged. Trying to clean it out a little bit. And then we got one of the little O-rings, gaskets, whatever you want to call it, right here. It does not want to come off. Oof, man. Yeah, it just wants to be destroyed. And this one, we got 3 of the same ones. There's one over there. There it goes. We got this one. There's a check ball. Okay, so that right there has a check ball in it. I'm gonna go blow that out. Drop a new one in there. Oh, and I wanted to point out something else actually. This is not just some Chinese knockoff kit. This is actually, it says at least that it's made in the United States, USA, and it says it on here too. And it also says that it uses ethanol resistant parts. So that is one thing that you want to think about. I'm not sure if all the kits are going to be like that or not, but with today's fuel, having something that is a little bit more ethanol tolerable is probably going to be good. I think it's probably mainly like this. This is different from, you know, like this, I think it was leather, I think, where this is not. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like cardboard actually. Oh, actually, you know what? This might come off. Yeah, that comes off. That's a protector. Okay, back to this. These old gaskets are really dry. Seems a little bit big for that. I guess it'll work though. I've got the check ball in there. And if you see any like, you know, major dirt on any of these parts, you obviously want to make sure everything is clean as you can get it before you put it back together. I think that will seal. All right, so I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. Come over to the choke. Let's see what we're working with. This is all going to be probably related to like fast idle and stuff like that for when the choke is on. I would just say let's just clean it out with some spray carb cleaner and just get that cleaned up. May not be a real bad idea to just put like a drop of like 3-in-1 oil or something on these parts. I am not 100% sure on that. I don't see where that would really cause, you know, I'm just talking about like a drop, like right there, just so that it's not so much just metal on metal touching. I do see a very small passage right there. It's okay. It's whatever. I'm pretty sure that should be open. I also have this set of really small drill bits that I got kind of for this purpose, although they're not very long. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to go through. I just thought it would. I also don't really know what it would do if it was open. It just comes down and sits right there. Okay. That one's clear. Just feel like it should definitely be clear if it's got, unless it's just kind of like a piston. All right, I don't think it's supposed to go all the way through, so I'm just gonna leave that. The thing that it goes into is clear. I'm gonna blow this out. All right, clean that up. I'm just gonna put, it's probably way too much, but that just seems better. Metal and metal usually is never a good thing. Do that at your own risk though. Do all of this at your own risk, honestly. You can wipe off the excess. I think that's really all there is inside of there. All right, and we got a little smiley face gasket. At least that's what it looks like to me. Okay, something like that. These can be adjusted left or right for more or less choke. It even says right there you turn to the right for lean. It was right in the center when I got the car, but you just want to make sure that this little tab right here at least catches on this side of the choke arm. So like right now it's, you can feel it's putting a little bit of tension on it, but see, the more you turn it, the more choke it's gonna have. Or the ambient temperature right now is fairly cold. We're only like maybe 40 degrees. So like when that's right like that, there's a fairly decent amount of spring tension on the choke. If you want it to be less choke or leaner, turn it to the right, and then this opens easier. I'm gonna put it back right in the center, which has a little bit of tension on it. I'll go ahead and put the hardware back in for this, and we'll come back. All right, so some of these things, I remember I could not get this out, runs through this kind of a main jet looking thing, but I'm gonna work on this separately. I need to get my bigger, wider screwdriver to fit that, but I also might need what's called an impact driver, which will basically be, it's like a screwdriver that you hit with a hammer on one end, and as you hit it, it actually forces the screwdriver tip to turn, and it usually works pretty good for things like this. Probably just set it just like that and just hit it like that, but I will have to do that another day. So well, for you it's not going to matter, but at least for right now I'm going to set this off to the side and just work on what I can actually replace. I can do the accelerator pump. I'm going to pull the float pin out. That should just lift out of there. And you can check to see if this looks like it has any holes in it or anything. You can either just throw it in water or throw it in your solution if you're cleaning your carburetor in like a bucket of the berry mins or something like that. And as long as it floats, it should be okay. Does not seem like we have a new one of those. Or this. So it's kind of a weird clip right there. I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to use a different clip on that once I take it off. Probably, I would think. Okay, it comes off like that. This should just slide out like that. And that should come out. I don't think there would be one side that was different from another. Doesn't look like there would be. One side has the slot for a clip, the other side does not. The one that goes into the pump itself does not. There's the one larger one, all the rest of them are small. Seems to fit pretty snugly on there. I'm looking at this with this larger spring. Did I have the larger spring yet? Or does that go? I think the spring goes down in there. So I may not have had that in there. Because I had that sitting right with it. I put the parts together, so that came out of where this was packaged. So yeah, and it kind of looks like it too. There's like a little 4 little teeth down there that kind of center this. When I put that back together, I will do that. Obviously we have a gasket here, right here. Okay, so do the gasket before you put this on. I think that's the only thing that has to come off. You can take this out too, but you can't. Yeah, you gotta. Okay. So this, you just push it all the way down. Push that all the way down, and you kind of have to swing it to the side. It won't come out if it's vertical like that, but if you swing it to the side, it'll come out. And there's no clip or anything holding that on. Okay, that was the needle that just came out. That should have come out before. That kind of goes with that. And this gasket has a couple little punch outs, it looks like. I feel like it'd be pretty hard to really get in there and clean that, but I guess try to scrape out as much of the junk as you can. And then this here would be the seat, which you do get a new seat. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what that would be. It's slightly different. Let's see if I can get it with my... Yeah, there we go. Look, they're falling apart on me. Interesting though. Looks like that would be one of the bigger ones also. What I don't understand is why this one has holes in the side where this one does not. I guess it doesn't really matter because when it shuts the fuel off, what happens is it's just the tip of the needle goes down and just stops off the top, the hole in the top. So those shouldn't really make any difference that I could think of, unless this is the, yeah, see, I think, okay. I think this is what we're supposed to use. I think this is the needle. It's just a slightly different design. So it would stop like that. It also would block the holes in the side. I could look at these instructions and see it, I'm sure, but because you just need something on the bottom that this tab right here, so when the float comes up, it pushes up against that, and then that's what seals off the fuel from coming in. I was like, there's no way you don't get a new needle and seat in a carb kit. That just would make no sense at all. But now I've had more of this fall apart, so what else do we have here? So that's some kind of a, maybe like a relief valve, a vent. Don't think I'm gonna mess with it. I don't see where I have anything new to replace right there. Okay, so this is the like the screen. There's like a filter screen in here. I forgot, I think this is like a 3/4 inch bolt. So you can take that out, clean it. You do not get a new one, but you do get a new gasket or O-ring for it. Now that I've got this off, I think it's about as far apart as I'm going to take this. So I will just clean up everything right here. This tip is rubber. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same idea. It's just that this is called a needle, and it's kind of needle shaped. It's pointy, where that one isn't. But this end of it definitely looks like it's just for the float to hit against. And these just slide through. There's no knurled edge or anything like that on either side. As far as I can tell, it can slide through either way, and it's just held in place by the actual bowl when it's around it. The pin can't slide out. I think that's everything that we can do with this part. Kind of leads me to wonder why there's so many extra pieces. We know what this is for. There's another check ball. I'm gonna look into it a little more and see what I can figure out, and we'll come back tomorrow and try to get the rest of these things out like that and make sure everything is cleared out. Brought home my impact driver to try and see if I can get this to break loose. I did already try to do this before and it was not successful, but at the time I was just like trying to leave well enough alone. Now that we're actually rebuilding this thing, I want to try to get it out. So all this thing does is you just hit it with a hammer, and then as it forces it this way, it like shocks the screw or the bolt that you're trying to open or break free. It also is twisting it to the left. The problem with this is it's at an angle, so it's going to want to move diagonally too. And also kind of boogered up. Oh, we got it. Look at that. See, it works. Score. I also brought some much bigger snap-on screwdrivers home that would, you know, fit in there. And these also have a place that you can put a wrench on, so like you can, you know, go like that and give it a twist, a little bit more leverage. But I'm glad we got that. Actually, don't think I have there's a gasket for that. Those are all too small. Not sure why. Well, we've got the main jet down here, which I'm going to try and see if I can. Yeah, so that turns it. Turns it, but it's too wide, so hopefully now that it's loose, I can use a smaller screwdriver. What are you supposed to use, you know? It's like you need, I mean, a lot of people will take, you know, kind of not a snap-on screwdriver, I wouldn't think, but they would kind of file down the side so that it's just more long and thin. All right, I'm just gonna work on getting that out. All right, so I got it out and messed up the slot a little bit. Shouldn't really matter. There's no gasket or O-ring for that either. I thought it was one of these. There's like 3 of those, but it was just a little bit too small. So, and I had to cut it, like split the side to get it off. So I just used another one of the ones that I, you know, basically was throwing away that looks the best that I'll put back in. So it doesn't have everything. So I guess make sure there's a gasket or an O-ring before you destroy the old one. Yeah, so now it would be trying to get this jet out right here, which is going to require something smaller than this. Grind the sides of this one down a little bit. All right, just kind of ground it down, and it's taking it out. I think this will be like the idle circuit, the idle jet. Let's see if we can poke through that one. Not really. There we go. That one did seem to be blocked off. I guess that's a check ball that's rattling around. May have been in here. I know there was one. It may have been in this side over here. There is another one. I guess it's this right here, which I was not able to get out the other day. I can't actually see all the way through it though. I can actually see, I'm sure you can't, but I can see daylight through it. But now that I have a straight shot at it, I can try to actually just poke through it. I guess we can try to unscrew it. Screws all the way up out of there. Yeah, it probably didn't really make much difference to get that out, but let's see if we can just run something all the way down through that. Yeah, that's going. All right, I see it poking through. So I wasn't sure if that was clear, but at least now I know for sure that it is. This is just completely clear, so no problem there. And this one was in here, right? Whenever I see a passage, just try to make sure that I go through it. I'm just gonna go blow out the holes that this main pickup went in.